We are now coming to the end of the academic conference. How did you find the proceedings over the last 2.5 days?
I think it was a very broad conference, very encompassing. In this case, it was a kind of a demanding conference, taking people from various fields together and forcing them to reflect on many things that probably many of the participants may never have thought before. And I think extending from questions of mass violence, genocide, to violence, to the origins and roots of violence in the human brain, infant education, Red Cross action, was a very, very broad spectrum. And I think it just it demonstrated very convincingly the breadth of the topic.
And how did you find, because you're also a chair of the different discussions, how did you find the discussions between the established experts and the young scientists?
Extremely fruitful. I was very convinced that this is a very good concept, because I think these younger participants made an effort to really deal seriously with the presentations they had heard, they had seen, they had studied before, to bring up new points of view, to also put their finger on, in their perception, critical weaknesses of the presentations. So the ensuing conversations between the younger participants and those who had made the presentations were always very fascinating, very fruitful.
The last 3 days were very efficient for the topic of violence in the public. So I really enjoyed to be here, and a lot of input from the different guest speakers. So I think it was very helpful and very nice to be here the 3 days.
How did you find the discussions or the approach of having the experts being reflected upon by young scientists?
That's perfect. I think it gives a special view on the topics if more people involved to the discussions. So I think it was a good thing to do that.
I think it was a really well-balanced approach, getting enough of an understanding of a complex issue. On the other hand, also quite an array of preparedness actions that would probably lead, if all implemented, to a, I would say, certainly less violent society.
How did you like the approach with the experts being questioned or being responded to by young scientists?
I think it's a valid approach. I would still wish, but that's, I know, not an easy task to fulfill, sometimes the challenger being a bit more challenging, and then the challenged being more open, in a sense of truly getting to some of the issues. I think we went certainly a certain step in that direction, but it could be even more engaging also then for the broader public of the conference.
I was very, impressed by the structure of the conference, with the natural sciences coming first and trying to approach the problem of violence, and then the social sciences and psychology trying to approach the same subject, and now people, from the field talking about their experiences in preventing and fighting violence. And I guess I've learned a lot because of this structure, because with the background that we've acquired during the first 2 days, it's easier to apply these concepts that we've learned to the current discussions, and I'm looking forward to the last few talks.
You've mentioned the structure of the conference. How did you like the approach of the older experts who are already established being questioned by the younger scientists?
Well, since I was one of the young scientists who was given the opportunity to question the established scientists, I, of course, liked the approach, and I also liked the different approaches that the individual young scientists took, and with some of them criticizing directly, with some of them adding their own thoughts or talking about their own experiences. All of this, I guess, increased the diversity of approaches to the subject.
I was actually surprised by the diversity of the approaches and the different aspects of how to approach to violence in society. And as I was just here to listen and I didn't have to contribute anything to the conference, I could gain a lot of personal thoughts and of thoughts and new thinkings of what violence in society is, and also from the biological approach to over the evolution, the theory of evolution, and to sociology. So it was really a gain for me in thoughts and thinkings.
As a young person, how did you like the approach of having the older established professionals being questioned by younger scientists?
Well, I found it really interesting how the approaches were different. So because the young scientists were more have asked more practical questions and have also contributed in a practical way, whereas the older generation had rather a theoretical approach to the theme. So it was a diversity of approaches which I really liked and appreciated here.